Thank you, Judge Carter, for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I spend, as you know, most of my time working on manufacturing issues. Our congressional district in the northern part of Illinois is home to over 2,000 factories. And McHenry County, in particular, is home to some of the most high-tech plastic companies in the world. The President last week spoke before Congress and talked about regulations, and he said that every rule should meet the so-called common sense test. Regulations should protect people from environmental and health hazard and unsafe workplace practices. There's no disagreement on that. We all agree on that. But over-regulation has a tendency to destroy jobs. For example, the Department of Health and Human Services, under the directive of the National Toxicology Program, has labeled recently styrene as a human carcinogen that causes cancer. Now, styrene is the basic ingredient that is used in plastic composites. About 90% of the composites contain that, and about 50% of other plastic resins for other uses. And some of the uses for products with styrenes, they're used in packaging and disposables under polystyrene plastic resins, food trays, egg cartons, furniture, office fixtures, equipment covers, mail trays. In fact, the plastic that is oftentimes used on electronic equipment, refrigerator components, liners, air conditioning parts and housing, toys, high-tech products, consumer electronics, major appliances, insulation, floor backing, pipe and siding, computer monitors, IV connectors, syringes, stereo covers. You can see that it's almost anything that is used in manufacturing, and the fiberglass tubs, showers.
The gentleman would yield. I believe this board's made out of that styrene.
Could be. Could be.
This is a plastic board.
Could be.
What we call plastic board.
Could very well be.
If you look at it, it probably is made out of styrene.
And so that just demonstrates, Judge, the fact that styrene is so pervasive in all of our consumer products. Now, what has happened is the National Toxicology Program said that styrene is a carcinogen. They looked at a couple of studies, did a very, very poor job in looking at the history and the other studies available. In fact, the European Union and Canada came to the opposite conclusion and said that there's nothing wrong with styrenes, that it does not cause cancer. What we're trying to do is get the National Academy of Sciences, which is widely regarded as a final word in these scientific matters, to conduct an independent study on styrene. Now, if nothing happens and styrene remains on this list of something that's, quote, likely to cause cancer, it could end up destroying hundreds of thousands of jobs in America. Let me give you an example. The company that makes all the plastic utensils for McDonald's, that company uses styrenes. And what we see developing here are insurance companies that are taking a look at the plastic companies that use styrene, and they're becoming very nervous over the fact that the government has taken a position that, without good case study, that styrene is a carcinogen. So insurance companies are starting to balk to insure the styrene companies that use styrene. Lawyers have already met, examining the best way that they could bring the class action lawsuits for all these products that contain styrenes. And what could end up happening is, because of the regulations that will come down from the federal government, the government will say, well, in its finished product, there's nothing wrong with a product involving styrenes, but in the manufacturing of it, that's where the problem is. We could lose hundreds of thousands of jobs our plastic industry could be destroyed. Now, these are the types of things that absolutely do not make sense, where because of the jungle of rules that the federal government has, that makes it very difficult to get in a counter-argument, where people make decisions not based upon a cost analysis, but based upon a couple of studies here and there, as opposed to volumes of studies that have gone on examining whether or not styrenes are carcinogen. We could lose the plastics industry in America. Those jobs could easily go overseas, all because of poor science on the part of the regulators. Regulation in America is out of control. And I work not only with the styrene industry, but the people that are involved in foundries, where regulations are underway, that if they're not done correctly, could take a look at the silicas and say, and even though silicas are a problem, we know that if the regulations are done improperly, we could lose the foundry industry in this country. America is great because of our manufacturing background. America will only recover from this economic crisis when the manufacturing jobs are secure and come back. And that's why we've been pleading with HHS. Said, you don't understand, the Department of Health and Human Services, the impact of the poor decision that you have made with regard to these styrenes. And we could go on to other products from other manufacturers. And it's a slew. You have up there in the chart the scissors cutting the red tape. The red tape is so thick, it would take a blowtorch to go through it, or some kind of a chopper or buzzsaw besides the scissor on it. So I share with you the concern, the deep concern over the people who are losing jobs in America today because of overregulation by the federal government.
And recapturing my time, I thank my friend and say that I hope that all those members of this House and others that might be listening heard you say America could lose this industry. It didn't say that the world would lose this industry, because, quite honestly, once again, a great industry that produces good paying jobs will all of a sudden, not because of taxes or not because of high labor costs, which a lot of the arguments we get, a new factor. The regulatory agency drove this prosperous industry out of our country because of possibly voodoo science, that they didn't investigate enough. They've got a concept, and they stick to that concept on their science arguments, and they don't go outside the scope of their view of the world. And they're going to shut down an industry. But are we going to stop making plastics? No, the world's not. Just the United States is going to stop.
That's correct. That's correct.
And that's why. And then people say, why are all these jobs offshore? It's not just the cost of labor that drives people offshore. Our regulatory agencies have as much to do with that as anything there is out there. The president made a joke recently where he said he found out that all shovel-ready jobs are not shovel-ready jobs. Well, let me tell you, I haven't checked all those jobs he's talking about, but I'd be willing to bet you that there's either an endangered species or in some form or fashion the Environmental Protection Agency is in between the shovel, taking the first load of dirt on a project, and somebody trying to get a project done. Because it's the agencies that are shutting down our highways, they're shutting down our bridges, they're shutting down our sewer projects, our water projects, and sometimes for very bizarre reasons.
Would the gentleman yield?
I certainly do yield back.
And look at the Keystone Pipeline coming down from Canada to Texas with branches really into central Illinois. It's been tied up by the EPA and other regulators for 3 years. We're looking at 20,000 new jobs. I think it's a $5 to $8 billion project. That doesn't count the people that make the pizzas, the people that make the shoes. I was talking to a shoe salesman, Red Wing Shoes. that are mostly made in America. And those are the industrial shoes. And I said, how's business? And he said, Don, he said, when manufacturing is down and construction is down, my sales of shoes are down.
Sure.
And so it continues. It's not just the cost, the actual cost of the impact to that particular entity, the particular construction site, the particular regulation, but all the peripherals that come as a result of it. Those are the things that destroy our economy.